The America's Cup is the oldest international sporting competition. Since 1851, the world's best have battled it out on the high seas to claim the old mug. Today, it's the pinnacle of sailing, a high-speed spectacle full of innovation, tactics, skill and determination. The competition was invented by the British, and yet in all that time, it's never been won by the British. But all that could be about to change. In April this year, INEOS announced that it would be throwing down the gauntlet and backing the British effort. And that's why I'm here, in Portsmouth, outside the 74,000 square feet headquarters of INEOS Team UK. We'll be learning about this sensational new adventure and more in this edition of INTV. Coming up on this month's INTV. INEOS's businesses in Antwerp are toasting 20 years of being an INEOS company. INTV headed to Belgium to find out what those 2 decades have been like and what the future holds.
When INEOS acquired the site, we were very excited because we knew that something far bigger would be possible.
The America's Cup is one of the world's great sporting events. But do you know your GC32 from your AC75? INTV's Guide to the America's Cup will help you get to grips with the competition and catch up with INEOS Team UK's latest news. And as always, we'll hear from the INEOS chairman, Jim Ratcliffe, and catch up with the latest news and insight from across the group.
This concept of the United States of Europe has never been one that I've bought into.
This state-of-the-art facility here in Portsmouth is one of the newest in the INEOS stable. But on today's show, we're going to start where it all began. Back in 1998, an entrepreneurial businessman took a gamble and bought an unloved chemical site in Belgium. That man was Jim Ratcliffe, and that site was Antwerp.
Ik ben hier nu 35 jaar. Voor zover ik mij kan herinneren was Antwerpen altijd al een industriegebied.
I was there on day one when INEOS was founded in May '98. This is actually the cradle of INEOS, where it all started. And that's also where the principles of INEOS were really founded.
So INEOS started as a management buyout of a single site in Zwijndrecht in Antwerp. That was 20 years ago. At that point, with one site, we had about 400 people and a turnover of about 200 million euros. And INEOS saw the potential to invest in that asset, to invest in the people, and to develop that business further. And that's been a model that INEOS has consistently executed over the last 20 years.
So at the moment of the management buyout, INEOS was not existing, so it was a completely new player on the market, so nobody knew how successful they would be. But because of the fact that Jim Ratcliffe was heading this management buyout, and we had the local managers, let's say, supporting him and joining him in the management buyout, that gave again the trust to the people that things could change.
When INEOS acquired the site, we were very excited because we knew that something far bigger would be possible, as we would have our own destiny more in our own hands.
It used to be a cash cow during the time of BP, and once INEOS turned to the site started to grow, and every year new projects were ongoing. The units which were running already were greater and greater and produces more and more.
For me, what's special about Antwerp, it's around the capability that we've got from what's physically here, the rivers, the roads, the rail, but most importantly the people, their discipline, their ability to get the job done, their entrepreneurial nature. It's a great place to be.
It's really an amazing story. 20 years ago, nobody knew us. In '98, a turnover, it was around $250 million. We have now $60 billion.
The chemical industry at the moment is a really exciting place to be working. We are seeing really growth that we haven't seen for years. It would have been hard to imagine 20 years ago that we would have been talking about how we find more land to expand and grow. These days, that's one of the things we talk about quite frequently.
A lot of the projects that have been invested in over the last 20 years come from the people themselves. And if they see that the company does something with those opportunities, I think that makes you feel home almost.
Reporting lines are very, very short, and that's certainly something that I like. It's the transparency and the simplicity of the organization.
Our products have a meaningful impact on our daily life. Without chemicals, there would be no pharmaceuticals, there would be no solar panels, no wind energy, no lightweight cars.
It's been very gratifying to watch, as well as our investment going on in our business as INEOS, our partners continuing to grow and develop.
Project 1, which is the gas cracker, would be the first in 20 years' time. It would be world scale, highly efficient, which means that it will be very attractive and economically viable.
Certainly we hope it will be in Antwerp. It will also be great for all the plants in Europe, because a new plant, who doesn't want to be part of a new plant?
The 2.7 billion investment would really be a vote of confidence to the existing 5-6 Antwerp production sites we have.
This kind of investment is a game changer in the chemical industry in Europe.
Well, we think these investments are not just transformational for INEOS, but they are a significant step forward for a European petrochemical industry as a whole.
Nadat het INEOS is geworden en we zagen dat het goed begon te gaan en groot begon te worden, was ons gevoel om hier te zijn prima. Ik zou hier niet weg willen. Ik heb geen idee waarom ik hier zou vertrekken momenteel, of zelfs in de toekomst.
Antwerp is where it all began. The last 20 years has been quite an adventure, and it's only getting more exciting. Because earlier in the year, INEOS entered brave new waters.
On the 26th of April 2018, INEOS announced its sponsorship of the British entry into the America's Cup. Considered the Formula One of sailing, it is the oldest sporting trophy in the world, where cutting-edge technology meets the world's best sailors. These heroes battle at over 50 miles per hour in the ultimate test of skill, design, bravery, athleticism, and camaraderie. The competition originally started in 1851. Every year, the Royal Yacht Squadron hosted an annual race around the Isle of Wight, and the newly formed New York Yacht Club were invited to participate. To the surprise of all attending, the Americans beat us. The trophy was renamed the America's Cup and gifted to the New Yorkers Yacht Club, which sparked an international competition. The New Yorkers then successfully defended the cup 24 times, until finally, in 1983, the Australians finally took the prize. A lot can change in 167 years, and in today's world, with new yacht specifications for each competition, the modern-day America's Cup pushes the boundaries of design and technology. These specially built vessels don't simply sit in the water, they fly above it on special fins, known as hydrofoils. This reduces drag and helps them reach those incredible speeds. But without significant support and investment, no team would have a hope of competing. And that's where INEOS comes in. In April this year, INEOS announced its support for the British bid. Alongside the Royal Yacht Squadron, the newly named INEOS Team UK entered the challenge. Leading the team is Sir Ben Ainslie. He is the most successful Olympic sailor of all time, and he's the team's principal and skipper. Beside Sir Ben stand some of the finest sailing bodies and minds on the planet. Because this isn't just about being able to sail a boat. These guys have to build it as well. INEOS Team UK also support the younger generation of British sailors, the INEOS Rebels, to help the country's young sailing talent learn the ropes of the event. Rather than a straight race, the America's Cup competition has evolved to be a unique sporting event with its own set of rules. The boat design, for example, is decided upon by the winner of the previous Cup. The current holders, Emirates Team New Zealand, have called this the AC75 class rule, specifying that the yachts competing for the Cup in 2021 will have to be a 75-foot-long, singular-bodied monohull design. The race itself is a tad more complicated. Only 2 teams will actually compete against each other in the final America's Cup race. The first of those teams will be the current holder of the Cup, aka Emirates Team New Zealand. The challenger has to prove themselves by winning a series of races across the world, aptly named the World Series. Team INEOS UK are already making waves, having won at another international race, the GC32 Racing Tour. There's a long way to go yet for everyone involved, but we'll make sure to keep you updated on INEOS Team UK's progress in the coming months.
I'm here in Mission Control, where INEOS Team UK can monitor, adapt and design every element of this massive project. With the support of INEOS, this cutting-edge technology and a phenomenal team led by one of Britain's most successful Olympians of all time, this competition has the makings of a real classic. Now, Ben Ainslie is not the only world-class athlete in the INEOS family. Over at our site in Cologne, they have their own champion.
My name is Anna Limbach. I work at the communications department at the Cologne site. I've worked here for 5 months, but before that I wrote my master thesis at INEOS. From day one I've got my own responsibility to finish my own projects, which was a big challenge, but also I was supportive. What attracted me to INEOS was its people. I very much enjoy the flat hierarchy at INEOS, that I can approach anyone at any time. And also for me, as a young professional, I want to learn. So it's better for me if I can actually do and see things and talk to anyone.
Outside of work, I fence. I'm a fencer, I'm a champion. I'm a German champion. I'm ranked number 10 in the world.
I've always loved fencing because I can adapt to new opponents and be better than others and actually have the chance to win. It takes a lot of time and training to become as good as this. I used to be a professional athlete, sponsored by the German military. When I was first thinking of having a job at INEOS, I was quite worried about combining my athletic career with a full-time job. But then I realized that INEOS is quite supportive and always helps me to attend the competitions. So I actually got the perfect solution of training and working at the same time. INEOS doesn't only support an active lifestyle, they live it. They support their employees to eat healthy, to go out, go running, continue my sport fencing. And my results actually have become stronger and better since I'm at INEOS. So I'm now ranked number 10 in the world. So my fencing career hasn't stopped. My hopes for the future are to qualify for the 2020 Olympic Games and afterwards have a professional career at INEOS. The company has a bright future and the young people that they bring in also support this bright future.
So Jim, let me start. We've been covering a lot in this edition about the America's Cup Challenge, and we had a question about that. Why did you decide to back the UK Challenge for the America's Cup?
Well, it wasn't something that was sort of anticipated well in advance. It was simply a chance meeting that I had with Ben Ainsley in March. I just sort of became intrigued by the possibility of sort of sponsoring that initiative with Ben Ainsley, who's a very impressive individual. It's this combination of, technology and sport. We've got the best sailor in the world, Ben. But, the first half of that challenge is to get a competitive boat to the start line. And the boat that has been specified for the next America's Cup is really off the charts in terms of sort of technical evolution. It's going to sail at almost 100 kilometres an hour, and nobody's ever built anything like it. I mean, if we do ever get this thing to sail in a straight line at full speed, it's going to be quite sensational. It'll be nobody will have ever seen anything like it. It will be absolutely stunning.
America's Cup leads on to a next question, which we've had quite a few different people from Giorgio Martini and Patrick Giefers, George Watson, Luke Tice, about the issue of plastics in the ocean. What's your view about this issue and what we as INEOS could do about that, which is a growing concern for a lot of people?
Plastic was designed, obviously, to have longevity. We've strived very hard to make plastics very resilient, and hence, when they're in the ocean, they don't biodegrade very quickly. Can we make biodegradable plastics which actually fulfill their function and then subsequently biodegrade? And there's quite a lot of science going on there, and we're doing some of that. And then obviously the other area is recycling the plastics. But neither of these are easy nuts to crack. The recycling of plastics, the problem is that if you mix all the plastics together, you've got polyethylene, polypropylene, PVC, polyurethane. So, the science isn't there today to be able to separate out the individual monomers from the individual plastics, go back to square one and then produce the plastic again. There's not a quick solution to it, but we have to do what we can to help, and we have to keep working to find solutions to it. So, we're very open-minded, and we recognise the problem, and we'd like to be responsible producers.
Okay, from a global issue to more of a European issue, the vexed issue of Brexit.
Oh yes. Not getting any better.
Not getting any better. Where do you think we're up to on this?
I think my view, and I think the general INEOS view, remains the same, which is that mainland Europe is a very important trading partner for the UK, and the UK is a very important trading partner for mainland Europe, because the UK is an enormous market today. It's fifth largest in the world or something like that. And, the original concept of Europe was the common market, which meant that we had relatively modest trade barriers, so we could trade efficiently and sensibly between the various partners. I've always been in favour of the common market with sensible trade arrangements between the various parties, but this concept of the United States of Europe has never been one that I've bought into, and relinquishing sovereignty of the UK I don't think is a sensible thing. Both parties have got the same amount to gain and the same amount to lose, I think, really. So I just hope common sense prevails.
From a difficult European issue to a positive one, as far as we're concerned, we've just recently announced a massive investment in a new cracker and a new PDH unit. Good few questions on this. Fundamental question, why Europe?
It's an enormously important market for INEOS. It's where we have most of our assets. We've probably got well over 50% of our assets in Europe. If you sort of delve a little bit into our chemical position in Europe, we are extremely short on ethylene. We've got a vulnerability there. Can we source enough of those molecules to serve our derivatives business? And secondly, the second issue is that we're leaving a lot of profit on the table if we can profitably make those two molecules, the ethylene and the propylene molecule. So we will be the first people to invest in this magnitude in Europe for 25 years. So it's a real, I think, sort of statement of faith in the European market, really, to invest almost €3 billion.
Talking about investment and growth, we've had quite a few questions around our energy business. What's the next steps, do you think, in our oil and gas business in terms of offshore and indeed onshore?
We're a respectable player in the North Sea now, sort of top 10 player in the North Sea. We're pleased with our acquisitions. We still have it's very clear we still have a lot to learn. It's very different from the chemicals business, which obviously we've been in for 20 years, so we understand that. And I think, we'll continue to grow in oil and gas step by step. And we'll try not to get too carried away, but we'll try to continue to move forward.
Let me finish and go on to, certainly in Bill Shankly's words, the most important thing there is to talk about, which is football.
Yeah.
I had a couple of impassioned questions, one from Alison Mills in Nitros in Hull and one from an anonymous Lausanne football fan.
Yes.
The Lausanne football fan asks, were we expected to take a step back before we could stride forwards?
Well, no, I don't think we were planning to plummet into the second division in Switzerland, no, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be a bad thing for us. There's an awful lot to learn, so I think having taken a step back and consolidating in the lower division, we played 6 games, we're top of the division. I'm hopeful that we'll skip back up to the top division. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We've got the new ground that's obviously going to be built. So, no, I'm not downhearted at all. I think, it's a journey.
And Alison says, are you planning to buy another club? And if so, could you make it Hull City?
Hull City. It's not a high on our list, I have to confess. Although it was one of my very first jobs when I was at school, was selling golden goal tickets at Hull City at the ground in Boothfree Road. I don't know whether they're still there actually. The Cadbury family had just paid for a new stand and I used to sell golden goal tickets and they used to give me a seat in the best stand. So I was a regular supporter of Tigers, as they were called in those days. But I haven't thought about getting my checkbook out.
So you've probably done your bit for Hull City.
I've done my bit, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
As we've already been learning, 2018 is shaping up to be another epic year for INEOS, and it's not showing any signs of slowing down yet. So here's the news from around the rest of the group.
One of INEOS's biggest sites is over in Köln, Germany. It's a constant hive of activity, and this summer they announced that they are going to expand their dipropylene glycol capacity. In case your chemical engineering knowledge is a little rusty, Oxide's business manager, Santiago Cirules, knows a thing or two about glycols.
Glycols are mostly used as solvents in many industrial processes. Called dipropylene glycol. It is used also in many day-to-day applications that we know, like for example home care, skincare products, and also in flavor and fragrances. So for example in perfumes. And we have seen growing demand in these applications for this product. The most important thing is that we support the growth of our customers in this field.
INEOS Phenol produces chemicals that manufacturers use for products across the globe. From aspirin to adhesive, INEOS Phenol has it covered. Growth in demand in the US has meant that their plant in Alabama is currently expanding, now making it the world's largest phenol production site. There hasn't been much positive news about British industry lately, so trust INEOS to come up with something to smile about. In September, INEOS announced plans to invest £60 million in the Grangemouth chemical site. This expansion will include a 10th furnace and maintains INEOS's commitment to UK manufacturing. And if this wasn't enough good news, the INEOS-sponsored Daily Mile campaign is going from strength to strength. Following an advertising campaign, the number of schools taking part has seen an uplift of 102%, rising to 6,400 schools in 52 countries across the world. That's a whopping 1.3 million children reaping the healthy benefits of the programme.
Well, knowing there are more than 6,000 schools worldwide doing the Daily Mile is very humbling, and I'm very proud of all the people across the world who are making it happen for children. I think it's incredible, and I think it will change the health and well-being of every single child that does it, and that's their mental health and their physical health, and I think it's quite incredible.
On top of that, earlier this year, the London Marathon announced that it was partnering with the Daily Mile in a push to make London the first capital city in the world to have all of its schools signed up to the initiative.
The London Marathon is all about inspiring activity, and the Daily Mile is more than just activity. It's about well-being, it's about physical health, it's about mental health. So it is a fantastic initiative that we are delighted to be partnering to do the Daily Mile and put it into part of their daily life for their school kids.
That's it from INTV this month. It's been another action-packed schedule, but we'll be back soon to keep you up to date with the INEOS story. Thanks for watching.